Now, we've saved this as a Photoshop document, and you can see up here it says .psd now. If you right click on this, I can reveal this image in my Finder on a Mac, and I can see that it's Part 2 PSD Photoshop document. I want you to notice the size here. It's a pretty large file. It's 171.8 megabytes. That has a lot to do with all of these layers that we've created now. Now this image is in full size, so if I went to image and image size, I haven't shrunk this at all. So if I was looking in inches, at 300 ppi or dpi resolution, which is print resolution, this image would print at max resolution of 18 or max size of 18.24 by 12.16. Now if I were to change this resolution here to what we're going to use as called web size or screen size, I'm going to put in 72 here. You could see that it would now print at a very large 50 inches at 76. Now that's not what we want in terms of our screen resolution. So I'm going to explain here. We're skipping right now the stage of taking these to print because for this assignment we just want to go straight to web size. So keep that in mind. I'm going to show you how to web size this image for our purposes. Now if you were over here in this corner, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten these layers. This is going to be what's called a destructive edit. Now, I'm doing permanently to this image. If I save this as a Photoshop document, it would permanently flatten these layers and they would not be viewable again. So the first thing I like to do after flattening that is I like to go to Save As. And here I like to save to my web folder. So I'm going to go under Part 2 again, and I'm going to locate my web and JPEG folder under this assignment. And I'm going to change the format of this file from a Photoshop document to a JPEG document. Now notice TIFF is way down here. That's what we're going to be using when we want to resize for print, but we're gonna tackle that a little bit later. So right now I'm going to save as a JPEG format file. That's going to compress my data and make a much smaller file for me initially. With the addition of getting rid of all of those layers, it's going to make it a much more portable document and quicker to upload onto the internet, but also quicker to load for people to see on your websites. I'm going to save this. I haven't talked much about titling, but you're welcome to title. The one thing I would recommend is always hold on to your file name. I wouldn't overwrite that file name because it'll make it much easier to search for file specific. So you could add an underscore here and say computer or SD card or something like that, but I would always hold on to that number within your file name. Now I'm gonna keep my quality at 12. I like to go to the largest possible. Often Photoshop will default at 8. It's up to you. It's your call. It probably isn't that noticeable when we upload them to our websites. I'll hit OK, and you'll notice this changed to JPEG. Now that tells me that I've now switched from a Photoshop document to a JPEG, so I no longer have the fear of overwriting that Photoshop document. If I went to right click up here and I located that PSD document and I open that, it'll open up as a separate file and maintains all of my layers. So if I ever need to come back and make some edits, I still can. So I'm in my JPEG mode right here. I've flattened. Now we need to resize. Now one of the ways that I've talked about resizing is you have a couple options. Right now we're in what's called a landscape format. You could also have your images in portrait, which would be where the height is longer than the width. Right now the width is longer than the height. Now you have some presets in Photoshop. So if you're in a horizontal format like this, you could go to what would be called 1024 by 768 at 72 ppi. 72 again is the resolution, and that's the resolution of screens or monitors that are most likely to be used by the public. So when we're presenting our images through WordPress, that's all we really need. We don't need that 300 print resolution that would be ideal for printing. We need much less than that in order to make something viewable and of quality online. So 1024 is a fine standard. That's a dimension of most of our screens at this point. It's a high definition dimension, HD dimension. So if I select that, it will automatically put 1024 638 at 72. Because I have the height and width locked here, it's automatically creating the proportionate dimension of 638. But if I were to, say for instance, change this to 43 or to 23, 22, you can see that it's automatically shifting that height in order to stay proportionate. And that's to keep the proportion of your image so it doesn't look skewed or distorted. Now, this would be ideal for again a horizontal image, but if you'll notice, it doesn't give us a fit to for a height of 1024, which would be a portrait dimension for our longest dimension. So I want to go through and do this manually as well, so you can see how that works. And again, this is all reiterated step by step in our workflow document. That's part of the assignment this week. It's an attached document. So if you want to reference how to resize, that's another good source for this. I'm going to cancel here, and I'm going to show you how to do it manually. Now if I go to image size, and I come over here, I want to show you quickly, if I put in 1024, and then I change my resolution here to 72, look what happened to my width and height. It's assuming that I wanted to take out those pixels from 300 to 72 pixels per inch from starting at 1024 as my pixel width. So I need to come back in here and add that. The other way of doing this would be to first come to image size, and start by putting in 72, and then take this down to 1024. Now again, if your image is in portrait mode, I'll go ahead and do that for us. If I rotate this, you would go to image size, and I would have to make my longest dimension here 1024, so I'm going to start by doing 72, and then do 1024, and hit OK. Now, this isn't saved yet, and you know it's not saved because in Photoshop it gives me this little asterisk here letting me know outside of those parentheses that it's not saved. Now I can save now because I know I'm in JPEG mode, and I know that that file is already located where I want it to be under my WebJPEG folder under this assignment. Now, if you did this for each of your images, then you'd be ready to drag all of those into your assignment page and post those as a web gallery.